Chair Hall, again, the question is asking which departments are going to be most vulnerable?
Yes, I think the first department that is the most vulnerable is the Housing and Revitalization Department. When we talk about funding, when we talk about affordable housing, when we talk about building paths to home ownership, it is threatening that HUD offices may close across this country, but particularly here in the city of Detroit. And so I believe that that is one of our departments that is threatened the most, because as you look at the strides that we have attempted to make and made over these past years, we have invested a lot in affordable housing. And if that funding is not there, we will not have the ability to build more affordable housing. Second, I would say it's between transportation as well as public safety, because when they look at trimming, we have not invested in our infrastructure that much. And so I believe that some of those federal dollars relative to transit may take a hit, but also public safety dollars as we look for a sustainable source to fund great programs like we have in CDI.
To be on the job this long, and I gotta tell you, the answer to your question is housing, health, and then workforce development. That's part of the reason why I made my plan, Money, Jobs, and Homes, to cure all of those and fill all those gaps. Now, ultimately, you gotta reform tax incentives that we give to the big corporations. That's immediate. You also have to deal with the community land trusts that need to be created, as well as ensuring that we put some type of rent control and put a moratorium on these bad practices and evictions that are taking place. But then furthermore, we have to be prepared for all fallout, including creating free health clinics if necessary, and that means all hands are on deck, and we're creating a village approach to every problem. I'll tell you about the first problem we're going to solve when I come back.
Again, just to remind the candidates, the question is about the departments. Which departments are most vulnerable?
I think clearly we see a lot of cuts taking place at the federal level. Transportation is definitely going to take a hit. Law enforcement. We see healthcare is going to take a big hit. Bridge cars, etc. All of these areas. Housing is definitely going to take a big hit. And that's why I've introduced housing to be an industry that Detroit should establish itself. Housing, we don't need to look to the federal government if they cut those funds. I have a plan to implement housing here in the city of Detroit, and I think it's very, very important that we understand Detroit is 1/3 land. City of Boston fits into that. And we're talking about, just with the land bank, 60,000 lots, you're talking about $9 billion. So we want to introduce the industry of housing so that we can mass produce housing here in the city of Detroit.
All right, thank you. So I agree that the housing department and housing in general will have the greatest impact, as well as public safety and transit. I also wrote down infrastructure in general, because we get a lot of funds just for infrastructure upgrades throughout the city of Detroit from the federal government. I've been very, very clear and unapologetic that I believe that we have to capitalize on the economic opportunities that are happening in downtown Detroit. Detroit is the only city in the country that has all 4 sports teams in downtown Detroit, and now we just are welcoming the WNBA. And so I think we have to figure out innovative ways to bring revenue into our city, whether it's a local sales option tax, an entertainment tax, or a half penny tax, which Columbus, Ohio did, and has generated a significant amount of revenue for their infrastructure and transit. So day one, we will have either someone hired or bring stakeholders together to examine what is the best way to continue to grow our revenue here in the city of Detroit.
So Candidate Sheffield, you already began the second question. You can continue. This question again is, how would your administration replace the reduction in federal funds and a likely decline in philanthropic support?
So I just touched on that. So I think we have to explore various options. I don't think that there's just one. day one, under my administration, within the first 100 days, we will either hire someone who will examine how we explore and diversify our revenues, or we're going to form a stakeholder coalition so that we can begin to further explore what is the best route for Detroit. Very proud that right now we do have a study being conducted by the Citizens Research Council that is exploring a comprehensive report on various options that the city can undergo to bring revenue in Detroit. We do know most of those will take a change in state law, which we are prepared to do, but we have to start pursuing this very aggressively because the political climate has changed. Also, the more that we create jobs in this city and we get people living in our city, we get more funding to our income taxes and our property taxes. So we're going to pursue aggressively more economic development to get more people in the city, because that also increases our revenue here in the city of Detroit as well.
Abolish the DDA.
You know, I think bringing in revenue into our city treasury is a big issue. That's the most important thing right now. And so what we want to do is to, first of all, the industry of housing, which is billions of dollars that we can put into our city treasury, if we create those 10,000 jobs, bring in a technological system and plan to build affordable housing. Also, to have a diverse economy, you have to bring corporations from the international. Atlanta, Georgia has 1,500 international companies. Detroit doesn't have any. You have to have companies, domestic companies, coming into Detroit. And then you have to be able to provide that workforce to bring them in. I'll make sure that the corporations and the rich pay their fair share of taxes. We'll make sure that the black majority of Detroit is not left out.
What you're gonna find out is me and Brother Joe, we almost think alike. Almost. I'm a little bit younger, but we almost think alike. A lot of the things that he says is true. And let's just start. If we could have had leaders that would have held them accountable for building everything that they built and getting all the incentives that they had, we'll probably have a lot more in our community, similar to the places that we're standing on. See, I thought it very, very divine that we were in the same room that I gave my mayoral announcement at. And I thought it very interesting that I'm probably the only candidate right here who has a membership to downstairs, and is a part owner in this establishment and this community project.
I'm sorry, the question is about how is your administration going to replace reduction
Let
in
him answer the
revenue?
way he wants to
Yes,
answer.
I can bring them
You
on
can't
job.
control his answer.
He already
Don't
gave you the answer.
You can't control his answer. That's
Excuse
don't
me.
do that.
Thank you.
They can all say what they want. Don't control his answer.
okay.
That's disrespectful.
I'm good. Hey, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. I think
No, you can
No,
answer.
no, no.
No, it's for his time. His time is up.
Again, the question is about, to all candidates,
Answers the way he wants to.
how would your administration replace the reduction in federal funds?
So there is no doubt that we are going to need more revenue coming in here in the city of Detroit. And we have unveiled a comprehensive property tax relief plan. That is the only tax plan, by the way, that does not tax the actual residents. We're going to focus on taxing speculators, those who sit on land in our communities, on our commercial corridors, hinder development, or folks who sit on flat parking lot surfaces that make $2 to $3 million per year and only pay $10,000 in property taxes. We are going to tax them more so residents pay less. The second thing that we are going to examine is this. Yes, public-private partnerships have been important building the city of Detroit here, but it has not necessarily worked in some ways that we want it to. So as the mayor and a leader, when you talk about these developments coming through, you have to be very pointed of where exactly we want these dollars to go. So we will also re-examine the community benefits ordinance and how it actually works for folks, and how does that benefit the community, work to change that so it's more beneficial.
Thank you for that question, and I think for quite some time, big business and the wealthy have been eating us for lunch for quite some time. So I think that we need to stop giving away everything and be more judicious and negotiate harder for the things that we are going to give away. So I'm not anti-business. I am pro-Detroit. And I do believe the money is there, That's one of the reasons why I propose talking about a forensic audit. I think we spend too much money on the services that we have, and I'm not talking about cutting employees. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not the little guy that I ever want, or woman that I ever want to hurt. But at the same time, we need to get fair exchange for what we give up. And I think that's not happening. And that's why I propose another thing. There's a great opportunity that's coming, and a lot of people don't talk about it, with the filling in of I-375. That is going to be a great economic development for the city of Detroit. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. The next question is regarding public transit. This is a several-part question. I'm going to walk through it, go through the entirety of it first, and I'll walk through each candidate separately. Currently, the People Mover and the Q Line have fare-free services for riders, yet DDOT riders continue to pay fares. The first question is a yes or no question. Each candidate can answer yes or no. Do you recognize this as a fare disparity, F-A-R-E, fare disparity, in terms of the mostly Black and low-income Detroiters who depend on DDOT as their primary means of transportation? Yes or no?
Absolutely. I'm sorry for not saying yes, but yes.
Good.
No.
I think you may want to repeat the question. I think it's unfair, and
Okay.
so I'm saying no.
Let's clarify the question. Okay. Point forward. So I'm going to try and clarify it. So the question is this a disparity? Is this we'll just keep it at
It is a
that.
disparity.
You said it, but you phrased it differently.
When I said F-A-R-E, the fare that you pay.
Unfair.
Right.
No, it's not F-A-I-R, it's F-A-R-E, the fare is.
Okay, it sounded like you said an unfair
Yeah,
disparity.
okay.
That's why.
So let's go
Right.
once again. Is this a disparity in the fares?
Same answer.
Correct, okay.
Yes, there is a disparity in the fares.
Thank
One
you.
is free and one is not.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, good enough. Second is also a yes or no question. Would you support the expansion of a reduced fare program for a broader class of DDOT riders that are low to no income?
Most definitely, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, and I'll tell you why later.
Absolutely, yes.
Qualified yes.
Okay. So now you can explain your qualified yes and you can explain your no. The first response is, if yes, how would you fund that program? You can elaborate on your qualified yes as well. If no, explain why you do not see this as a disparity in fares, in the payment fare.
I didn't see it as a disparity. I said no, I would not do.
Oh, okay, correct. Okay, yes. You can expand on that as well. But the first yes or no is regarding the first question is, if yes to the first question, how would you fund the program? And if no, why do you not see this as a disparity in fares? But everyone answered yes to that question. Then the next question you can elaborate on yours in that 1 minute as well.
You need to start with the beginning because everyone needs the same amount of time. So start at the beginning, because we can't have people
Start here,
jumping in.
1 minute.
Could you repeat that question again? I'm sorry.
If, yes, sure. No problem at all. So if yes, so everyone answered yes, right?
Except for,
Everyone answered yes to the first question.
yes.
How would you fund, sorry, let me come back, this is the second question. The second question was, would you support the expansion of reduced fare program for a broader class? If yes, your qualified yes, how would you fund the program? And you can explain your qualified yes as well.
Well, I just said qualified because it's really an absolute yes, but in the sense, you have a system that it takes $120 to $130 million to operate effectively, and we're only funding it, it's a fraction of that. So I have to advocate for more money through, whether it be the RTA or get a pass-through from DC, in order to have that, an effective bus system. You know, DDOT has not been fixed. I rode DDOT, and to think that people who depend on it to get to work, to get to important places, to get to school, it's abysmal, and it's intolerable as a society, and we can't accept it. But how do we fund it? We're going to fund it by the increase in an application of dollars directly towards that. You have to you have to be intentional, because the people rely upon it because they need it. This is not something that they're doing recreationally like the Q Line and like those other entities that are not necessarily owned by DDOT, but we're responsible to those people as a city.
So I would say absolutely yes, because we want to expand ridership. We want more riders on DDOT. I have already committed to doubling DDOT's budget by 2030. And so yes, we will look at reduced fares. But the way to do it is have those conversations with the Regional Transit Authority as well as work with our regional partners. I have a vision for transit to create regional transit here in the city. And if that happens, we have shared costs between the regions, which will allow more riders, more upgrades, more funding to go there, along with doubling DDOT's budget within the general fund. And finally, the fare disparity that we say that exists, of course, one is free and one is not, but the city of Detroit does not own the Q line. And it is also a disparity because it goes 3 miles up and it goes 3 miles back. You can't get anywhere but up and down Woodward. And so when we talk about fixing bus services, it has to be on all of our corridors, all of our routes, and all of our lines to make sure Detroit can move across the city.
So let me clarify my answer. You said, would I?
Wait, so I'll clarify it.
No.
I'm
As a
on
timekeeper, I can't allow that. The question was asked and answered. That's giving you more time than everyone else. I can't do that.
The reason why I said no is because I'm not playing the one is free, one is not game anymore. I'm going to eliminate fares altogether for residents of the city of Detroit. I'm going to create free transportation and at the same time fix DDOT and give all of our riders the safe, clean experience that they deserve. Meanwhile, putting health services down at the Rosa Parks Terminal and other hotspots around the city. But more importantly, I just think different. We're going to create city shuttle and Uber services that our residents can participate in because I'm creating a citizen dashboard to incentivize everybody to give back to the city and make money in order for them to be able to contribute and become an engaged citizen and recreate community again.
Thank you, Kendra.
Transportation is important. You can't become an international city, world class, without a good transit system. I certainly make sure that we will find the revenue for that. This is why I attach almost everything to our manufacturing of housing in the city of Detroit, because we can put billions of dollars in our community, billions of dollars into our city treasury. Why is this important? Because this is the one thing that we can actually attach ourselves to, that the people of Detroit can control and benefit in creating not only housing, but 10,000 jobs. So I would certainly make sure the city sets that subsidy up to make sure that people can ride the transit system. And if they cannot afford it, then we need to make sure we cover the cost. I'll also work with our regionals to make sure that we can bring in the necessary transit system.
Thank you so much. So, huge supporter of DDOT. Anytime anything has come before council to fully invest or support the Department of Transportation, I have done so and will continue to do so. I've been a huge advocate for the low-income fare in Detroit. We weren't able to get it done the last few years, but I have always uplifted the need to have one in our city. And so we'll continue to do that. I support wholeheartedly DDOT Reimagine, the whole initiative and effort to double DDOT. I support that as well by 2030. We will lean on our regional partners and also public-private partnerships to ensure that we are making this a reality for Detroiters. And then, as I talked about earlier, increasing revenues in Detroit overall using the activity that's happening in downtown Detroit, whether that's a local sales option tax and penny tax. Those are the things that are funding transportation and infrastructure in other cities, and we can do that here in the city of Detroit.
Thank you. The next set of questions deal with equitable development and community benefits. In 2016, Detroiters were the first in the nation to organize and put on the ballot the community benefit ordinance. The approved ordinance applies to large-scale private development projects supported with public tax dollars. The ordinance also allows impacted residents to negotiate benefits to mitigate the harms caused by the development project, such as increased rents and displacement. This has two questions. The first is a yes or no only. And then the second is if you say no, we want you to elaborate on why you say no. County Sheffield.
What was the question?
Oh, do you support the need for a CBA ordinance in
Gotta
Detroit?
speak
Yes or
louder.
no? Do you support the need?
Start it over again.
Or
Do you
C-
support the need for a CBA ordinance in Detroit? Yes or no?
Most definitely, yes.
No.
No.
You said no. Okay.
Yes.
In its current form, no.
Yes or no? So the candidates that said no. If you said no, why do you not support the CBA ordinance?
Because
Only for the ones who said no.
because that's a weak agreement. We have corporations that have repeatedly not kept their word and have fallen short of giving Detroit jobs, opportunities, and so I support a community benefits agreement which is enforceable in the court of law. Detroit have taken the short end of the stick utilizing these CBOs and these tax abatements. And it has hurt our community, it has hurt our children, it has hurt our grandchildren. And so we need to make sure that when these corporations give us their word, that they keep it. And if they do not keep it, we can remove those tax abatements, or we can take them to court and enforce their word. This is the problem in Detroit, the CBO.
Let me, I was on the other
It
note.
was yes or no.
I know, but I was not clear on your question.
Okay, you changed it to no.
Because I think, and I
Yeah,
don't.
change
not
the
to
rules
speak
in
for
there?
Durham,
Did she
but
get
we
more
both-
time?
I thought the question in
Excuse me.
general was, do we
Let's
support?
I mean, you guys are picking on certain
Okay.
candidates. That's my point. You're picking on certain candidates.
You
Be
can't
fair to
sit
me.
behind us and be disruptive, sir.
Okay.
You cannot do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're moderating and disrupting, but okay.
May I?
You said County Barlow said no.
I was the one, I didn't know Barlow said no.
Sir, go. I'm following
So-
everybody else's order.
Let's come back.
I got it.
So Barlow, you said yes or no?
Go.
Okay, County Perkins.
Thank you. That's a great question, and I really have to follow Mr. Hashim and double down on that. We have a toothless ordinance. We have an ordinance that says may rather than shall. And one of the things he speaks to, in being a lawyer, I understand the idea of a clawback, of being able to, swipe back what you promised and what you promised to do, and you fail in that promise, and the city being able to come back on it. Because understand this, all the opulence that you see in the city, all the wealthy things and nice things you see in the city, all y'all paid for. Everybody paid for it. Understand your power. And when you understand that power, have a real ordinance that says you cannot do. Like, I'm over in trying to get our center open where I got free lunch when I was a kid. And Henry Ford is playing around with us about a couple of dollars. And you got a $3-4 billion thing going on. It's a shame.
I agree with both Attorney Perkins as well as Brother Joe. It's just odd to me that we start talking about a community benefits ordinance after I created the most community benefits agreements in 2017 to try to hold this emerging industry that we call cannabis accountable. What I found out through that whole season and era while our politicians were taking backdoor deals and money from those who own liquor stores and gas stations, I found out that you have to tie and index those incentives into the initial agreement. And so what I want to propose to you all is do not fall for the same gimmicks. Because they will say a CBO when the CBO only puts them in the radar and the criteria at 75 million. And that's how housing and development aren't going to our people because we haven't created our own city AMI and we haven't been able to hold anyone accountable.
Excuse me, let me clarify that, because what is spoken
Let me
about
say something.
is
So
a
the question
difference.
was,
Hold on.
There's a difference between an ordinance and
Listen.
an agreement.
the question was, do you support the need for a CDA ordinance in Detroit, yes or no?
That's different
That was
though
not
than
the question,
current-
Glenn.
Yeah, that's not, I
That's the
agree.
question I asked. The question, so if you said no, why do you not
Are
support
you
it?
saying do we support an CBO ordinance or the current version?
Do you support the need for a CDA ordinance in Detroit, yes or no?
Okay, that's general though, that's not pointing to a specific one that's currently in place.
Do you support the need for a
To have
CDA?
one,
Okay.
yes. Right, I think it was not
For the ones who didn't have an opportunity to
We'll give you
respond.
time to respond.
For the
Those
ones.
who did not.
I support it. Go ahead.
Then we're done. We're gonna go on to the next person.
They want to make a
So
comment.
let me just be very clear. It's very clear, my record, where I stand with CBOs, when there was the original agreement that was before voters, that provided a legally binding agreement between community and developer, I stood with that. Unfortunately, that proposal failed, and we have what we have in place. I am very supportive of amending what we have in place to do more things like lower the threshold, provide more support for community, the NAC, because oftentimes they're trying to navigate all of what is provided to them, and providing more empowerment throughout that entire process. But I do think it's important that we have something in place that has more guidelines and more ability to call back agreements that are not adhered to. And so that will be a discussion that we will have with community and developers to ensure that we have a process that works for the betterment of the city. But I do think we need one in place, and the current one can possibly be amended to allow for greater participation, more transparency and accountability, and more access for community to be involved in that process.
It doesn't happen often, but I agree with Council President on this one. Because when we talk about what comes in front of us, and that's why we want to get to the crux of your question, I support a community benefits ordinance. In its current form, it is not working without it being amended. What ends up happening is folks get appointed to the NAC. And sometimes what we hear is not reflective of the folks in the community that have real concerns that are sitting on that board. The second thing that happens is that by the time it leaves the NAC and the agreement has already been made, we have folks like the People's Platform who come down there during public comment and saying, we don't necessarily agree with the decision of the NAC, because there are folks in that community who feel their voices have not been heard. So we have to amend the community benefits ordinance to make sure that it works for folks. We have to restructure it. So by the time that these deals hit the council table, we're not adding $2 to $3 million more on a project that still may not reflect what the community may want to see.
Okay. Are we allowed to expound on that as well?
Didn't they answer?
You've
You've
already
I
answered.
think,
already answered.
I think it's
You've
very,
already answered.
we answered, but
Move
to
on.
come back,
Yeah, so we'll move to the next question. I think in the next question, you should be able to also expand a little bit more. It's gonna be along the same lines, okay, candidate? So this, we're gonna start to decide with candidate Perkins. This is about equitable development tax captures. There's a lot of background to this question for many people who may not have the background. We're gonna kind of walk through the background and then we'll come to the questions. Downtown development has been uneven and the mayor has a lot of power to change it. While downtown has revitalized, the rest of the city has not benefited equitably.
sure.
I already get some applause. For example, in 2023, the Downtown Development Authority, commonly known as the DDA, captured 80% of downtown property taxes for a total of $65 million. This past February, the Citizens Research Council released a report for the Detroit City Council that concluded that the DDA is not effectively sharing the prosperity of downtown across the city. Further, the report recommends unlocking the DDA by phasing out tax captures, which gives the city the option to eventually sunset the DDA. Today! This is a two-part question. First part of the question, as mayor, how would you use your power to ensure that the DDA in its present form benefits all Detroiters? You can elaborate on that. The second question is a yes or no question. The second question asks, would you agree to unlocking the DDA to include a moratorium of new debt of the DDA and ending the tax capture so that the downtown pays its fair share of property taxes?
They get 2 minutes. They get 2 minutes, so they can answer the whole question.
So here, we'll go, candidate first, and I'll repeat the question. As mayor, how would you use your power to ensure that the DDA in its present form benefits all Detroiters?
So, the second part, they don't
as-
answer it all together. 1 second, so,
Okay.
give them both parts, because that's what the confusion keeps coming in, both parts and nothing else.
Okay, we'll go to the yes
Give
or
a
no.
qualified yes to the second question.
We'll go to the yes or no first, okay? So the yes or no is simply yes or no.
Okay.
Would you agree to unlocking the DDA to include a moratorium on new debt for the DDA and ending tax captures so that the downtown pays its fair share of property taxes? Yes or no?
And get the qualified.
Okay, qualified yes.
Yeah, and I'll explain it in my
Okay,
answer.
qualified yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No and qualified.
I just want a little more qualified.
Speak a little louder. Speak a little louder, Joe.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, can you qualify that just a little better for me? I was got a little confused.
Sure. Would you agree to unlocking the DDA to include a moratorium so that the DDA does not incur further debt, a moratorium on any new debt, and ending tax captures so that downtown pays its fair share of property taxes? That's a yes or no question.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
It's a compound question.
Okay. Yes or no? Would you agree to unlocking the DDA?
Boy, we on forum down there.
Yes,
Okay. Would you include a moratorium on new debt?
no,
Okay. Candidate Sheffield, would you agree to unlocking the DDA?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree to a moratorium on new debt?
In the DDA district, yes.
Okay. Yes. Back to candidate Perkins. The question is, as mayor, how would you use your power to ensure that the DDA in its present form benefits all Detroiters?
Thank you. And as a lawyer, I use leverage all the time. I'm not, again, I won't say that I'm anti-business, I'm pro-Detroit. If you want to continue to operate and do what you've done downtown, you're going to be required to do some things uptown. And there's going to be fairness and equitable. It's going to be equitable how you do things. And that's inclusive of working with neighborhood organizations, working with the community, and working with those individuals, including the schools and the libraries who've been left out in a lot of these agreements because they suffer the most. So again, that's the qualification that I was saying. To that extent, I'm willing to let those things go on, but not as they exist right now. And that's just a simple definition.
So I have always been focused on not telling a fairy tale. And here's the thing. The DDA was established and it is a public act by the state legislature. So you have to go to Lansing in order to provide a sunset for it, to provide changes to it. Those roads lead through Lansing. And I've always said, even when I support the DDA, I'm in favor, which is mentioned in that report, of a sunset. But what we will do as mayor is to go to Lansing to establish that sunset. But it will be done as we look at how it affects us economically over the years. Because if we were to stop it today and just say, hey, we're not going to do anything from the DDA today, how does that affect what has already been established? And so I think it takes time, but I think I am very, well, not think, I know I will be very committed to going to Lansing and changing the DDA so we can create a sunset for it. But those roads lead through Lansing.
Whether it's the DDA or the land bank, they definitely need to be totally demolished and restructured and allowed to make Detroit owners once again. There is no way in the world we as Detroiters can start to feel accountable or even engaged in a city that we don't own. And so my whole goal is to totally innovate our way through this and make sure we fill the gaps that our leaders have not been able to do because they don't know how to advocate properly when in office, they don't know how to bring money into the city, and they can't even put in the technology to put us all on one page. So what I'm proposing is an international innovation hub, but community innovation hubs first. Please, listen to your better conscience and business acumen on this one.
I would dismantle the land bank. I'll put our law department to work on this one. That $200 million that we give downtown development, I'll take that money and put it into our communities for community development, for economic development in the community. We have a law department, people. So if we go sunset on downtown development, most of downtown is developed. So really, why should the taxpayer $200 million be going that direction? So I'll take the law department and put it to work to make sure that we sunset it or dismantle it or downsize it. We need to take that money and use it toward our communities. We got $162 million shortfall on the way, and right away we can address that. And so that's what we would do.
Thank you. So the study that you just mentioned was actually commissioned through our office. It was a request that I put in because of the concerns that we've heard regarding the DDA and the fact that downtown Detroit is developed. And should we now begin to explore how we can reform the DDA? And so that was commissioned because of my request. And I'm very proud of that work to at least start the conversation. So while it does take a change in state law, the reality is that it can be reformed. The boundaries can be changed. Or it could possibly be a moratorium to not continue any debt. So these are things that I will continue to explore. What also is important to me is that we continue the effort to remove DPSCD in libraries in Wayne County Community College District and other entities from tax captures, which I've done every single year in the council, ensuring that we have resolutions that are urging the state to make those laws that will remove those tax captures. And then the Neighborhood Improvement Fund is something that we have in place now that captures money in downtown Detroit, and it puts it in a fund that can only be used for neighborhood improvements. And that is the type of thing that we will continue under my administration.
Thank you. This concludes the moderated discussion for this evening. We will now thank you for your participation. We're going to move into questions from the community. And this session will be moderated by Detroit People Platform staff.
All right, well, let's give everyone a hand, please. Regardless to whether you agree with each of the candidates on their positions, it takes a lot of emotional and physical work. They showed up. Some people did. All right, so we're gonna give community an opportunity to speak from the floor, which has become a rare opportunity in these candidate forums. So it's gonna get a little messy, but you guys be patient with us because our goal is to get as many questions as we can. We're gonna ask you to, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna ask you, you'll ask one question, and then that question will come to folks up here. They'll respond, and then we'll move on. So like I said, the practice suddenly is that everybody moderates community by having you fill out the cards and move the cards forward. We're going back to the old school way. We're gonna bring the microphone to you. We're gonna hold the microphone though.
Please hold
Just
it.
saying, you know, we know, but we're gonna do the best we can. All right, so let me see, I'm gonna. Yeah, all right, let's see.
That's good.
I'm gonna
Nothing
figure
wrong
this
with
out.
that.
I'm gonna start over here and try and work our way around.
Is there
So
time
can some of
limit
the DPP staff get the other microphones, because I'll work this part of the room, you guys work the back. So
She
we'll
has a
go
microphone.
front, back.
Oh, the microphone's up there. It's on the.
Oh, we only have,
You have it, and then the candidates have none to answer.
I'm gonna get the mic to the
cool.
candidate.
Okay.
okay, all right.
Candidates only have 1 minute to answer.
Yeah, the candidates will have 1 quick minute. This is the lightning round, everyone. Okay, we're gonna start with this lady.
Hello,
We're
my
holding
name
the
is,
mic. Oh, you gotta give me that
Yeah,
mic.
just to make it easier.
my name is Dr. Gina Tall. I actually work here at UBCFSN. But what we've learned by our current administration is that we do actually have all the money that we need, and it is coming into Detroit. What we don't have are us as a priority. So gentrification often can feel like local colonization, and that's exactly what's happening. And so what we need from our new mayor is bravery to revisit, just to be brave, courage, to revisit all of these contracts and people that want to come visit us in the city of Detroit, and people who are here that aren't a part of Detroit, renegotiating us as a priority. And so what is the strategy that you have to revisit all of these, you got Ford Field, it's endless of who is coming here and making money. But what we know is there are competing goals. And so what we want is bravery. We need courage for you to stand up and actually have to talk to people who are insulting you, just the whole regime.
Question, y'all. Come on. She could have ran too. She could have ran if she wanted to. Come on now, ask the question. We can come here to see you.
The question is, what is your strategy to go back to the table to people who are already here and to new contracts to let them know that you have to reinvest back into Detroit, what that percentage looks like.
Thank you. Thank you. Jesus Christ.
It definitely was.
We're gonna start on this side, minute each.
The strategy is to look at those contracts. The strategy is to look at who have been bad people to the city of Detroit, bad players to the city of Detroit. And that will go to the extent that we can't renegotiate them. As a lawyer, I recognize the written word and everybody's signature on it, but we can understand these people have bad credit with the city of Detroit going forward. And we have to look at new access to developers, and look inside of our city for those developers and require them to be involved in the growth of the city of Detroit. It has to come to the neighborhood, and again, I'm not throwing them out, but they're gonna have to act accordingly, they're gonna have to act equitably, and they're gonna have to just be fair. That's just it. You're right. We have the money, and the money is flowing in the city. And it's just, and that forensic audit, people are scared to death about it. They are scared to death about it. And that's why I'm the people's court. I'm the person for the people. I do it every day in the courtroom. So I have no fear. I only fear him.
So what I would say is it's important to realize we have to continue to generate more revenue here. When we talk about our budget currently right now, to move forward and to have some of the great programs that we need to fill gaps here, we got to continue to generate more revenue. The question is how you do it in an equitable way. And I have been steadfast on that. When you talk about our procurement ordinance, when we talk about the folks that contract normally with the city of Detroit, minority and smaller developers were left out. So we introduced the procurement ordinance that passed council unanimously that now gives more smaller and minority contractors the ability to contract with the city. We'll be looking to increase that threshold as well to ensure that we get more folks doing business with the city of Detroit. Same thing with development. When we talk about the pilot fast track ordinance, the premise of me introducing that was to allow more minority developers the opportunity to build here in this city. And finally, when it comes to courage, that is important. But predictability and standing on your word is. You may not agree, but you know where I stand.
In order to bring new industry into the city, you need to know who the CEOs and owners of these major manufacturing and leading futuristic companies are that are dealing with innovation. If you don't know a billionaire or two, you're not going to be able to do it. That's the only way that the three major investors have any competition and will start to change the ways and the behaviors that they've treated us by stripping our assets and continue to hoard money in programs and budgets that they call $1 million, but we end up getting $1,000 results. This is what we have to come to. We have to come to the understanding that, one, we need to be ready when new investment comes in. Just like how this place got put up, we need to be ready for building similar facilities and similar businesses and operations in our city. That's again why my community innovation hub will fast track businesses like yours, but also bring the investment and the other businesses and housing development around to be able to create community again.
Very important, we need to understand that inclusion, procurement programs, Detroit residents first, plain and simple. I'll stand up against the corporations and the rich. The people will be the first priority. Gentrification is something we need to understand. Gentrification works, it came from England, brought to America by your government. Gentrification can only work in a majority black city when you have the political apparatus and the corporations working together to implement the system. It hits the black community all over this country, including Detroit, 99.9% of the time. When we go to other people's communities, you don't see gentrification. So we have to have a position where we make sure that we have a strong, courageous, intelligent, knowledgeable, wise mayor.
Thank you. So for me, it's about collaboration. It's going to be about letting people understand the importance that we need each other, right? The next phase of Detroit is about, and our slogan is together we can, together we will. It's not about us versus them. It's not about business versus community, because we need each other. In order for businesses to thrive, they need people who are doing well. And in order for people to do well, we need great businesses. And so for me, it's going to be about how, because what I've also learned is that business, sometimes some, will only do what they're told to do. So you have to have a mayor that is demanding that they address the issues of this city. And if you are not necessarily forcing, but you are aggressive that they address the issues that we have in our city, most businesses will step up. And so it's a tone and a culture that has to be set. And I will say I've always been brave. I've always had the courage. You can check my record. I have stood and have challenged the status quo. And I'm excited now to be able to do that in the mayor's office, because now, as I mentioned, you are really setting the culture and the tone of what we expect and demand from business in this city. But again, it's about collaboration and a spirit of working together.
Time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, here. We're gonna do here, then the middle, then. Oh, he did? Yeah. Okay, all right, hold on. I told you it's gonna get a little messy, just be patient with this.
Yeah, a lot might be.
And we're gonna do the best we can. All right, I know you will. Yeah, along about accountability. All right.
Got a minute.
On April 28th, Donald Trump signed an executive order to unleash the police, in which he guaranteed that police could have any kind of behavioral conduct they wish, and they would be protected by the Justice Department, and nobody could sue them, and no local politician could regulate them. The Board of Police Commissioners passed a resolution this week saying they firmly oppose the White House trying to come in and set our police-community relations. Donald Trump, in the same executive order, said he was going to put troops on the streets of America, which we visited in 1967.
Give us a question,
And
Russ.
so the question
15 seconds.
The question is, do you oppose Trump putting troops on our streets? And do you think he should regulate our police-community relations at all?
Not at all. Not at all. And let me say, I think our strength in Detroit is our diversity. And I will say that it has been definitely very concerning, a lot of the federal actions that are taking place here on the ground in Detroit. I will ensure that our immigrant communities as well are not living in fear of separation of their families, of separation of having to go to work or school or business. And so no city resources, whether that be through DPD or any other funding, will be used to assist any federal efforts dealing with immigration and or ICE. But I do believe we as a city, a mayor, and the state of Michigan, the governor, should govern accordingly ourselves without the federal government coming in and trying to dictate how we govern locally. So that's very important to me. We will continue to empower the Office of Immigrant Affairs, ensuring that our immigrant communities have access to language access programs and a right to citizenship here in our city, and protect all of our immigrant communities to ensure that they are empowered with the resources that they have.
You know, local politics is very important. And of course, we do not want the federal government. We have self-determination rights as a city. We do not want the federal government coming in, laying in their prerogative on our community. So this is the thing, people. For the resources that we have now, I don't have a problem with immigrants. They have a right to come here. However, I think the resources that belong to the city need to go to the Detroit City residents first. And then we can discuss how we will help immigrants that need our assistance. I'm not for just advocating for everyone. We are a majority black city, and we're left out of everything. We're suffering from political, economic, and educational warfare.
Public safety is definitely something that is a passion of mine. I'll spend time in Miami, Atlanta, other cities that have a greater Hispanic and Latino population, so I understand what they're dealing with because I get calls every day. For us ever to commit to oppressing and putting people who can't fend for themselves in a worse position, to ever do that is the worst thing we can ever do. And so when it comes to working with immigration or the feds, first of all, you have to make sure that all bad actors, meaning officers, aren't working with the feds, and that means making sure that the culture that you set from that leadership office resonates down to every last employee. And you need someone that is as brave to speak to you.
Thank you. To answer that question is that we will not assist. And I will tell you why. The city of Detroit should be focused, our police department should be focused on keeping our residents safe. That's right. And so when ICE is deployed here, that is a federal department. And we are in the business of protecting our residents here. Our officers have enough work to do already. And so that will be our position as mayor. And we hear it all the time that we are not a sanctuary city, but we are a welcoming city. But I truly believe we can be more welcoming to our residents. There are many of our residents that still live in fear, not just from DPD, but some are scared to call the water department because of fear of deportation. Some are scared to call DTE because of fear of deportation. We are going to establish an environment where none of our residents fear not being here.
Time.
Thank you. So I do not support and will not support federal intrusion in the operation and the functioning of our city. I will support the lack of fear of our residents and those who are living within our borders. I am so adamant about this, I will also use our resources when ICE comes in to police them. Because what they do, see, nobody's talking about that. I want to police them because what they do, the atrocities that you see, I see them in the courtroom. I've had to sue the federal government and sue law enforcement because of those things. So I want to police those people who think they're going to police us. And so what they are operating is in a stage of fear. And what the government is trying to do is use an element of wartime tactics and tyranny in order to do that. And I'll use the court system to fight back on that.
All right, we probably have time for 2 more questions, y'all.
It's right here. Hi, my name is Lisa Staley. I'm with the Wisdom Institute. My question is, what is your strategies to ensure long-term funding for the Detroit Right to Counsel?
Truly, I think the long-term funding is going to come not only from our line item.